Hi guys, if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, and if you're new to the channel, my name's Lindsay and I make fly fishing and fly tying videos. What I thought I would do is take you along for a day's fishing. It's not quite a day's fishing because making videos requires you take quite a lot of kit along with you. I'm going a little bit heavier than I would normally if I was just going for a day's fishing, although I can't quite remember what that's like. I seem to have been filming now for about 5 years and the fishing's kind of tagged along with the filming, and I've done neither particularly well, but I'll do my best. What I'm going to do today, I'm on the Broadlands estate on the River Test and I've parked my car at the hut. Now the last couple of years I've been coming here, I've ended up with a flat tyre. So what I've decided to do today is park the car at the hut and get on Shanks's pony. I'm going to head down to the M27 bridge and then I'm going to fish my way back up to the hut. Now I've packed a little backpack. It's got various cameras in, my drone, my lunch, and it's A. Jensen's new waterproof pack. 100% waterproof guaranteed, and I hope that's correct because I've got about £1,000 worth of camera in my backpack. If I do fall in, which I'm prone to do on this river, and it's not because it's difficult wading, it's because I'm an idiot, but it does happen. Let's hope the backpack holds up to its name, completely waterproof, and we'll see how we go. It's a lovely walk down to the river, especially when it's not peeing down with rain and blowing a gale. I've looked at the weather forecast and it promises to be a great day. I'm going to get on with my walk and I'll see you when I get to the bridge. Well, before I get down to the bottom here, so I'm going to go through the vegetation. I'll be leaving my backpack here. I'm travelling quite light today, as you can see. I've got a GoPro on my chest so that you can see the action as I go. Well, hopefully see the action as I go. I've got to be honest, the back end of my season's been absolutely atrocious this year. So on the loch style, the last couple of AMFCs and the inter-services was absolutely shocking. Only ones and twos. Thankfully I've avoided the blank, but even the Broadlands Classic this year, it was really hard going. So this year I've been using a completely new setup. The rod's an Ignita 2 from A. Jensen. It's a 10'6". Now it's a very through action rod, which means it's very soft. It's for a 3-weight, and this is the first year that I've used a level line tippet for my French leaders. I've got a sighter on the point here and I've got about 6 foot of tippet material to my flies. I'm using one of these JMC Yoto automatic reels. Now I'll be doing reviews on both of these in the future. I'm enjoying using them, but I don't feel like I'm at the top of my game with them yet. So before I was using a 10 foot for a 3 rod with a normal reel. They were Hanak, superb quality, and I really like them. I've got them in the car just in case I break this rod, and I nearly did walking down here, walking into a tree, but that's old age for you. So I've got double nymph, and the more discerning viewers amongst you will have watched last week's video and you'll have been saying, well, didn't he say don't be lazy, take 2 rods? And normally I would take 2 rods, but this is the weakest part of my fly fishing game. Across all disciplines, I've always struggled with European style nymphing. So what I thought I'd do today is give myself no option. All I'm going to do is double nymph today. Now I've obviously got the option of Euro dinking, as they're calling it, putting a dry fly on my top dropper and a small nymph in between, but I don't see myself doing that today unless I come across some rising fish, and then I might be convinced to try it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shake down. I've got another camera to dig out the pack, then we'll get into these weeds here and we'll see if we can't get you a grayling on the camera. Now there are a want of fish and I apologise for the road traffic noise, but as we move up the river later in the morning, that'll subside. Now I'm taking my time. I don't want to disturb any of the fish that might be to my left here, just into the deeper run. You can see the foam line there coming down from the trees. Foam is home, so hopefully there'll be a few feeding grayling in there. Now this year's not been particularly good for the fishing. I've got to be honest, I've really struggled most times, so I thought I would come and just try and grind out a few fish, just for my own self-confidence. If I look back on this season, it'll be memorable for one thing. I think the quality of my videos have improved and the quality of my fishing has gone down the pan. I'm hoping to just get a little bit of confidence back, because it's sorely lacking in me at the moment. So setup wise, I've got just a small shrimp pattern on my dropper here, and I've got quite a heavy tungsten bead on the point, which I'll show you when I get a hold of it. As you can see, it's got a 4mm bead on. It's on a size 14 hook, but it's fairly heavy. Now this water in front of me is pushing through, and that's the reason I want to have that weight on, and I have got such a light fly above it. I just think I need to get it down quickly. Now because the light's so bad, I'm going to boost my sighter with some of this acrylic paint. Now this is a trick I learned recently from Kyle Cheshire. That's one of the great things about competition fishing. Kyle just said, I said, what are you using? I said, I'm using the wax, but it is very messy. He said, oh, try these acrylic paints. And he said, they're really good. You've got to refresh them every now and again, but they're much better than the wax. So I'm giving this a try for the first time today. And I think that was maybe a wee knock there that I've missed. When I get an indication, any kind of indication, and I really am looking for any excuse to strike, I just give it a flick of my wrist. If I'm not met with a fish, I can simply go back to fishing. And you'll see that, I think there's a little bank of weed there, but you can never be too sure. Just lift my flies up, let it go back down. Now this time, I'm going to let the flies swing out. Sometimes when the flies are just moving down behind you and they start to lift in the water column, this can be really enticing to grayling, and they will come and take it. Just let it drop back, pull it back, and there's nothing there this time. But always worth doing. Just a little one, but it's a start. You do occasionally get bothered by brown trout, more so this year, but that's a little wildy there, is a cracker. Well, I've come up to another section which has proved very productive in the past. Whether it'll be productive today is a different matter. Now, I did draw this beat in the competition a couple of weeks ago, and for all my efforts, I've failed to catch a fish, which leaves me scratching my head a fair bit, I've got to say. I'd always be very confident in this stretch of the river. It's absolutely perfect. You can see the gravelly bottom, it's perfect habitat for grayling. They've just not been in their usual places. But I'm going to go down to the bush you see downstream here, and I'm going to work my way up this run to see if I can't entice any fish to the net. Now, I've lightened up my cast significantly. I've got a very small nymph on my dropper. I've got a Duracell on my point fly. It's about a 3mm bead. So I've lightened up to see if that makes any difference. But I just don't think there's the volume of fish in the river that there has been in the past. And that's probably half the problem. But I should still be catching more grayling than I am. Now, I've come out to the side here because I want to avoid spooking any fish that might be to my left. There's a really good run and I want to just fish this shallow stuff, hence why I've lightened up. Now, I can see, you'll not see very well here, but I can see a fish directly in front of me. Unfortunately, I think it's a trout. I mean, usually in years gone by, this kind of shallow, gravelly section, I would be targeting this with dual and be quite content with between 30 and 40 grayling off of this. But sadly, they just don't seem to be here this year. Now, I've either got a good grayling here or I've got a trout, and I've got problems. Oh, it's a good grayling, I think. Or is it another trout? But regardless of what it is, I'm going to have to sort my line out. Oh, there we go. Is it a trout? Is it a trout? I can't retrieve any line currently. It's a cracking grayling as well. It's a really nice grayling. It's what I've been after, but I've got a problem with my rod tip. I'm going to have to walk it back into the shallow stuff, and I might have to play this out by hand actually. It's been a long time coming, but unfortunately my line has wrapped round the rod tip and I'm in a world of hurt here. It's a good fish. Whew. I was very lucky there to net that fish. It's a cracking grayling. It's just what I've been after, and it's really bolstered my morale. I've got to say, it was beginning to look like a pretty tough day to me, but fish just knocked me on the way down. I was just thinking about going heavier when that fish took, and it's took the Duracell. Let's have a good look at him. Try and get the flies clear. That was worrying. I knew I had problems with my leader wrapped around the tip of the rod, and that was going to be an issue. But luckily, the fish was well hooked, and I managed to get an absolute perler of a grayling there. So let's get her back. Well, not the eloquent release shot I was hoping for there, but I'll take it. I was very lucky to land that fish. So what happened, I've got a level leader on, and one of the disadvantages of using a level leader is occasionally it does get wrapped round the top of your rod. So that's one thing I've found this season while using this system. A lot of the time it wraps up the top, and when that fish took, it was wrapped around the top and I couldn't get any more line back in, and I had to play the fish by hand, which you never want to do really. As soon as I touched the leader, I did expect the fish to pop off, but luckily I've managed to land it, You can't see me, but I've got a big grin on my face now, and I'm going to go back and see if there's another one in that hole. When you're having a barren spell, like I'm currently having, you're always questioning yourself, have I got the right weight on? Do I need to be heavier? Do I need to be in deeper water? Do I need to be in faster water? There's so many variables to river fishing that you could be questioning yourself all day. You've just got to persevere. And the only way of getting the experience is getting out there and fishing. So regardless of the weather conditions, if you can do it, get out there. Now I am working this small piece of water in front of me, and what I'll do is I'll reverse out of here because I don't want to disturb the rest of the water, and I don't want to zigzag up this run. It's a good run. I just want to check that far seam before I move back, and then I'll move up another few paces. So I'll come out of the run, and then I'll move up 5 paces and then start fishing again. Because there could be grayling all the way up this run, and I want to make sure I fish it to the best of my ability. That's a trout. So this year, usually we take all the trout out of the river, but unfortunately this year, because of the weather they've had, it's been almost impossible, and there's an awful lot of trout in the river still. But I think this is a wee wild day. It's not one of the stocked fish. It's always nice to see the wild trout, even at this time of year. The trouble is, it's never really got cold yet. It's still very warm, and the trout still think it's feeding time. But beautiful little things. Let's get them straight back. Now this time of year, there's a lot of leaves and stuff coming down the river. Always pays to check your cast, make sure it's clear, make sure you've got no debris on your flies. Make sure the trout can see them properly. The grayling, we're after grayling. I've had that many trout, I forgot we were grayling fishing. I'm probably coming to the end of this run. Just try and get another few casts in. There we go. That is a grayling, I think. I'm going to keep sideward pressure on my rod. It's nice and soft. You can see it bending right through there, and that's ideal. So when you hook a grayling, or any fish for that matter, you don't lose many. Because I'm using that really thin tippet, it's just slicing through the water. Gentle pressure on the fish. And I'm making a pig's ear of this. And I think actually, it's not a grayling at all, is it? Oh man alive, it looks like a small sea trout. Let me have a lookie. Yeah, I think that's a small sea trout. Bonny wee fish though. Straight back. Tell the grayling to come this way, please. Okay, I think I'm going to leave this run now and move up to the next section of river. Been a tough morning session. I've only had 3 grayling to the net, 5 brown trout, and I think I've had 2 sea trout, only very small ones. I'm finding it really hard to pick up the grayling. After a very short break for lunch, I got right back to it, fishing some of my favourite sections of the river. There is not much daylight at this time of year, so you have to make the most of it. For the first time this year, I really struggled with the level leader setup. The wind was not helping the situation. Having only taken the one setup, I left myself with very little options. A lesson learned there. When you are in a rut and not fishing well, you start to question everything. Is your setup too light? Are the flies too big? Once that creeping doubt gets into your head, I believe you only fish worse. Personally, I usually always fish with confidence that I can grind something out, but just recently I have felt a little lost with my fishing. Whether it is bad decisions on the water or simply just tough conditions for everyone, I can't help but feel my fishing mojo has gone absent without leave. I hope it has gone somewhere nice like New Zealand or Cuba. I would like to think it happens to every angler at some point. Let me know if it has happened to you and how you get through it. Me, I'm going to seek out a professional guide in the next few months and just go through my nymphing setup and technique. Never too old to be learning new ways to improve. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.